大家好，欢迎来到新视野，我是刘星。2月13号星期六，参议院投票表决，57票认定有罪，43票认定无罪，没有达到2/3的票数，宣判川普无罪。有7名共和党参议员赞同了有罪，他们是博尔、卡西迪、柯林斯、穆考斯基、罗穆尼、塞瑟和图米。川普随后发表声明，感谢敬业的律师团队和其他为维护正义和捍卫真相不懈努力的人。川普在声明中说，我们历史性的爱国与美丽的让美国再次伟大运动才刚刚开始。在未来的几个月，我有很多东西要与你们分享。我期待着继续我们非凡伟大的旅程，一起为我们所有人实现美国的伟大。从来没有过这样的事情。我们前面还有很多工作要做。很快我们就会带来一个光明、璀璨、美国的无限未来的愿景出现。我们在一起，没有什么是不能完成的。我们仍然是在上帝眷顾下的一个民族、一个家庭和一个荣光的国家。我们有责任为我们的孩子和子孙维护这一辉煌的遗产。愿上帝保佑你们所有人，愿上帝永远保佑美利坚合众国。
The president asked that the attendees at his rally peacefully make their voices heard.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
The managers would have you believe that the president's supporters usually follow his every word, but in this case, imputed some imaginary meaning to them while ignoring his most clear instructions. President Trump said, peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, and the House managers took from that, go down to the Capitol and riot. President Trump told his listeners that if their members of Congress won't fight for their views, then go back home and find others that will. That's what President Trump said. The people who should fight were the members of Congress.
You have to get your people to fight. He told them.
You have to get your people to fight. And if they don't fight, we have to primary the hell out of the ones that don't fight. You primary them. We're gonna let you know who they are. I could already tell you, frankly.
It is pretty stark contrast when you watch that video, isn't it? When you see the House manager tell you, and I don't know if we're under oath here, but when I walked into this room, I sure as heck felt I was under oath and that I was speaking not only to senators of the United States, but before the entire world and with God watching. And a House manager got up here and told you that the President of the United States on January the 6th, 2021, told the crowd that they had to go and fight. And the implication that they wanted you to draw was that he was sending them down to Capitol Hill to go and breach the building and trash the very sacred halls of Congress. But we now know that is not at all anything near what the president said. What the president said was, if you can't get your members of Congress to do as you would like them to do, you primary them. That's the American way. Let's walk through the actual timeline. At 11:15 a.m., police security camera videos show crowds forming at First Street near the Capitol reflecting pool. This is a full 45 minutes before President Trump even took the stage on January 6th. Let me repeat that. Violent criminals were assembling at the Capitol over a mile away, almost an hour before the president uttered a single word on the ellipse. You did not hear that fact during the hours and hours of the House manager's presentation, did you? When the president spoke, what did he call for? He called for rally attendees to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard, for them to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to cheer on members of Congress. President Trump went on for more than an hour, ending at 1:11. Now, why is this important? Because of all of the events that I am about to describe, they all occurred before President Trump's remarks concluded. At 12:49 p.m., the first barriers at the U.S. Capitol grounds were pushed over and the crowd entered the restricted area. At 11:05 p.m., Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller received open-source reports of demonstrator movements to the U.S. Capitol. At 1:09 p.m., U.S. Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun called the House and Senate Sergeants at Arms, telling them he wanted an emergency declared, and he wanted the National Guard called. The point? Given the timeline of events, the criminals at the Capitol weren't there at the ellipse to even hear the president's words. They were more than a mile away, engaged in their pre-planned assault on this very building. This was a pre-planned assault, make no mistake, and that is a critical fact. Watch this.
Does anyone in this chamber honestly believe that but for the conduct of President Trump, that a charge in the article of impeachment, that attack at the Capitol would have occurred? Does anybody believe that?
It was not some sort of spontaneous decision by a bunch of, quote, protesters to go up to Capitol Hill and storm Capitol Hill. This was all planned out.
How much of it was planned? How much of this was strategized ahead of time?
They are getting indications, some evidence that they've seen that indicates that there was some level of planning.
There appears to be premeditation.
FBI internal report the day before the siege, warning of a violent war at the Capitol.
The FBI issued a warning of a, quote, war at the Capitol.
The FBI warned law enforcement agencies about this specific attack.
Be ready to fight. Congress needs to hear glass breaking, doors being kicked in.
We developed some intelligence that a number of individuals were planning to travel to the D.C. area with intentions to cause violence. We immediately shared that information.
And they pushed out that information through this JTTF structure.
It was immediately disseminated through a written product and briefed through our command post operations to all levels of law enforcement.
The FBI says 2 pipe bombs discovered near the Capitol on January 6th were placed there the night before.
New video appears to show a person suspected of planting pipe bombs near the U.S. Capitol the night before.
The FBI now says the bombs were planted the night before the Capitol siege between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m.
They were planted the day before.
All goes to the idea of premeditation and coordination among individuals.
This was a planned assault as if going after a castle.
So to answer the question of the House manager, does anybody believe that this would have occurred but for the speech from Donald Trump? I do. All of these facts make clear the January 6th speech did not cause the riots. The president did not cause the riots. He neither explicitly or implicitly encouraged the use of violence or lawless action, but in fact called for peaceful exercise of every American's First Amendment rights to peacefully assemble and petition their government for redress of grievances. In other words, the Brandenburg Standard is not made out.
好了，今天就到这里。喜欢我们的节目，请订阅、点赞和分享。谢谢大家，我们下期再见。